And don't, and as much as I appreciate the invite, thank you for reading that bio. I'm going to change a few things on it after this, though, because there's a few things I want to change. Don't forget, sinner, deeply depraved human being, broken person, absolutely bottom scumbag. That's where I put myself on all of this. So all the nice things you just said, I'm going to try and undo here over the next several minutes. But I got to give John a hug. I really appreciate what you said, brother. Normally I ask if I can hug somebody, but I'm assuming the hug was okay this time. So somebody, we can call Edina PD and have them take an Assault 5 report if you were offended by it. I've been given a lot of hugs lately, and I will tell you that since I walked out of trafficking, per se, I'm no longer working as the lead in our human trafficking approach. As of April 1st, Easter Sunday, which it's amazing because just the metaphorical value of that, sort of this rebirth, Chief Arredondo was willing to, on faith, presumably, take my advice and my word and say, hey, why don't we have a liaison that works in between populations like homeless and vulnerable populations and the police department? And I had that conversation with him in the hallway about 2 years ago before he was even the chief, and he remembered that and then became chief and said, hey, he walked up to me one day after he became chief in November, he says, how long are you going to be around today? Or he goes, how long are you going to be around? And I thought he meant like that day, and what he really meant was how long before you're going to retire. Well, I'd planned on retiring this summer when I turned 56. And I just, call it God speaking through me. I said, well, as long as you keep giving me interesting things to do, I'll stick around. And so then he said, well, you mentioned this thing about this liaison job, and I really want to talk to you about that. So I'm really not done with trafficking. I've just taken a different approach to it, and so I've spent quite a bit of time. Now, this bears into what I want to talk to you about, because since I transferred on the 1st of April, I've spent considerable time sort of anchored in the environments, YouthLink, 1010 Curry, Salvation Army, Hope Harbor, all these places where the most vulnerable of us are spending time every day. And this week I was out in the streets of 1010 Curry in front of the Salvation Army trading lemon drops for hugs. And so I didn't give you a lemon drop, but I'll make sure I give you one of those. And I would walk up, I'd say, anybody want a lemon drop? And of course everybody wants a lemon drop. I mean, who doesn't like lemon drops? And I'm not talking about the crappy lemon heads. I'm talking about the real old-fashioned lemon drops that have the frost on them and stuff. And then everybody went, I said, well, you gotta hug the cop, man. You gotta give the Sarge a hug. And they're like, no, I don't know if I'm able to do that. So I didn't get a ton of hugs for the lemon drops I gave out earlier in the week, but yesterday I showed up with coffee. Let me tell you, people will trade hugs all day long for a cup of coffee, okay? Especially if it's 8:30 in the morning and they haven't had their coffee yet. But that's a really good way for me to start this, because at the beginning of what I want to talk to you about today, I want to tell you that I love each and every one of you here. Many of you I know, many of you I don't. And so I'm reminded, and I want to just sort of set the tone by the words of 1 Corinthians 13. If I speak in angelic or human languages but do not have love, I'm a sounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so that I can move mountains but do not have love, I'm nothing. And if I donate all my goods to feed the poor, and if I give my body in order to boast but do not have love, I gain nothing. Hang on the weightiness of those words of Paul for a moment and think about what that verse really, really says. Because there is a devaluation of love, not just in our society, but in this movement, in this very movement that is built around hearts of passion and hearts of caring and hearts of equality and all the good, all the best things that we learn to bring to this fight that God put us on earth and that Jesus died on the cross for us to bring. How often we fail to recognize the absolute transcendency of love above all else. I mean, if you can go through that list, angelic languages, gift of prophecy, understanding all mysteries, all knowledge, if I have all faith to move mountains, imagine the magnitude of that. Who in here wouldn't want to have that kind of faith, to be able to say to that mountain, go from here to there, and it would go, right? Paul's telling us love is more valuable than that. You could do that, but without love, that's like nothing at all. Okay? And that's important. And so with that, I want to tell you where this whole story ends. I want to go to the end of it, and then we'll bring you back to the beginning. And today I'm going to talk to you about the sins of men. And I'm going to talk to you about walking through that process like I've done for so long. Colossians 2:14. If you have a pen, write this verse down. You're going to want to go back to it. He erased the certificate of debt with its obligations that were against us and opposed to us, and has taken it out of the way by nailing it to the cross. He erased the certificate of debt with the obligations that were against us and opposed to us, and has taken it out of the way by nailing it to the cross. That means that Jesus took that certificate of debt, that charge against each and every one of us, rolled it up, held it in his hand, and drove a nail right through it into the cross. That's significant. And it's important today that I bring that to you because having stood in the very presence of guys and watched them walk through that process of sin, watch them walk through that whole process of temptation, toy with it, imagine it, surrender to it, and slip into its grasp and despair, I need to be able to go back to verses like Colossians 2:14 and remember what that means. And if you go all the way to the end and you go to Revelations 12:10, where John is telling us about the fact that Jesus took Satan, the accuser, who accuses us night and day in front of God, accuses the brethren night and day, right? That's what that verse says, and casts him out. Remember, each and every one of us today will be accused. And I know that because I know each and every one of us today are going to sin. I wish it weren't so. I wish I could give you guys a happy ending to that and say, hey, you're going to go out of here, you're going to be a new transformation, you're not going to sin. But what, we're reminded, right? John tells us that in 1 John. If you say you are without sin, you deceive yourself. So that's going to happen, and Satan is standing right over there waiting to say, I accuse you. And what will happen in the same way it happens with each and every one of us, and the same way it happens with all the men that I've had the good blessing to share that walk with, they will hear the words, you are no longer redeemable. You are not savable. You are broken. You are dirty. This is the one thing you couldn't do, and you did it. And that's really an important message for us to hear. And so when I share these verses with you, what I'm trying to do is get to this idea that all of everything here that I'm about to talk about, whether you relate to it or whether you don't relate to it, has a happy ending, okay? And it's not a comfortable ending, but it's a happy ending. So there's a couple of verses that in addition to the ones I just gave you, that I'm sitting here that are sort of orbiting in my mind. And the first one of those is Matthew 2:21, where Jesus reminds us, where your heart or where your treasure is, there your heart will be also, right? Matthew 2:21. And the second are the words of Ezekiel in 16:30, Ezekiel 16:30. How sick is your heart, declares the Lord God, because you did all these things, the deeds as of a brazen prostitute. And no offense for those of you offended by that word. I'm reading from Scripture. I'm not, throwing words out there. A heart created to love the things that God desires and loves. A heart burdened by the reality and the propensity and the sickness of sin. That beats in each and every one of us, right? So when I stand before you and I think about this, I care about this deeply because I know a thing or two about our hearts. And it relates to this whole conversation because of what the Bible tells us about what our heart does. And to be up close and personal to that and watch what happens, all I can do today then is come before you in a sense of obedience to God to share this message, because for a long time, having stood in the presence of these 1,500 men that we arrested over the course of several years in Guardian Angel, all of whom had agreed to go to a hotel room and have sex with an underage female, okay, or in some cases a male, the only way for me to make sense of this is through obedience. And so that's what I bring before you. Obedience to God to tell you the things I've seen, the tears I've witnessed, the particulars of our sin as men. And I stand before you today and amazed at how unlikely a messenger of this I must be, because I'm not the person that many of you may have thought that I am. All the things that Keith said I think are true, at least the things that are practically, I was a deputized U.S. Marshal and with the task force and blah, 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 and those sorts of things. But I don't claim a greater insight on these issues than anybody else. I don't have a particular perspective that is more true than anybody else. And I certainly don't claim that I am somehow above the trappings of temptation and sin, nor can I claim that as I near that edge of sin and the boundaries of sin, that somehow I have the ability to immediately turn away and move away from it unscathed and say, see, this is how you do it. I can't say any of those things, okay? What I can claim is having had an unusually graphic and contemporaneous vantage from which to watch men fall. And today I'm talking about men, and I'm going to walk you through what that looks like. It's uncomfortable, it's challenging, hopefully it's convicting. The good parts are all of God, the bad parts are all of me, so those things that offend and bother you are probably my own doing, and I apologize for that. Any credit that I would take isn't mine. If there's some part of this that moves you as a Christian, as a person, as a human, to step out and recognize this problem for what it is, and that's a sin problem, I give that glory completely to God, and I'm just glad we can do some kingdom work here today. So, as I'm doing this is a work in progress, you guys. I've been working on this a few times, so please bear with me, because on the fact, and you didn't tell them I'd been up all night and had about an hour and a half worth of sleep. Let me tell you something. Going to bed at about 4 and getting up at 5:15 is a tough way to start a day like this, but as I told Keith last night on the phone, you've seen me do it before, and hopefully God will be faithful. At least right now I'm wide awake with the help of Starbucks and espresso and things like that. So when we set up an operation where we are doing a decoy, where we put an ad out on Backpage, which has now been taken down, at least for the time being, or some other internet source, there is a room, and many of you, or some of you in this room have actually been there with us, that's surrounded by a table of people like myself, law enforcement officers. Most of us are guys. There are women in the room too, but we're sitting there and we are texting and we're responding with people, buyers, potential buyers who respond to that ad. Over many years, I've had the good opportunity to get to know many of these men, not just through this communication, undercover cop, would-be 13 or 14 or 15-year-old girl or boy, and potential buyer. So you get a little bit of an idea when I say I've had an unusual vantage from which to watch what happens here fail, okay? So we engage in this text. So cop, potential buyer, all right? I just want to make sure you guys understand, because I'm going to try and move back and forth and do it as seamlessly as I can. So it starts out something like this. Hi, I saw your ad. You're very, very pretty. And it's a strange thing as we get into this to imagine this man's weakness and to craft the tools, the ads that we post, to take the photos, to stage the photos, to use the words that we know will draw this person's feet closer to the threshold. First, to identify if this is such a person we're looking for, and then to draw them into that. Oh, you're sweet. I do love a gentleman. And it's strange to watch this person, his feet almost poised at the precipice, getting ready to step over, nearing closer and closer and closer, knowing that what stands beneath him, what holds him up, is sandy ground, and it can fall away at any time. I'm a gentleman, all right, just a little lonely, I guess, and curious. I can tell, LOL. And it's a strange thing knowing how this guy's day ends. It's a strange thing to know that he's moving decisively toward a journey of a destination that lies in a place that he yet can't imagine. LOL, really? I guess I'm curious about. Tell me, baby. Curious about what? It's cool, I don't judge you. I'm safe. Just be you. That's all you can be. On the one hand, I hope that he won't take that. I hope that he won't take that fatal step forward. Don't respond, I imagine myself saying, and sometimes even thinking. But all the time, that's why we're here, to watch this person fall. Perhaps others too, but right now, right here, it's about him, and he's got my undivided attention. Just tell me what you want. Tell me what you're looking for. I guess I want some attention. And I can do attention. As a matter of fact, he's got it, all of it. Right now, my undivided attention. It's all about you, baby. I can do attention. I'll give you my undivided attention. Well, I like to kiss, I guess. Sorry if that sounds weird, but is that allowed? I don't normally do that, but you seem like you're an okay guy. So yeah, maybe I'll make an exception this time. And it's strange to hide in plain sight like this, visible, engaged, so close, yet so unknown to this person about what's really going on. And it's strange to dance with this person like this, to let him think he's leading when all along, but you got to be gentle, okay? Because I don't do this very often. I'm really new to this. As a matter of fact, this is only like my second time. Hey, of course, like I said, I'm a gentleman, and I think we're going to get along great. You're just so easy to talk to. LOL, that's what people say, LOL. And it's strange to watch this person, this guy here, this man rehearse to lose everything that he holds as valuable, his wife, his family, his job, sometimes his freedom, along with 100 other things that he hasn't even imagined yet that he can lose. I guess I should ask, and no disrespect, but how much money? Well, no worries, baby. I'm doing this for the money and a little bit of fun, too. It's $150 for an hour or $100 for the half. I'd like an hour. Do you have a place or should I get one? No, I've got a really nice place. Just you and me. It's safe here. Are you sure? Are you sure it's just you? I mean, I've heard in the paper some bad things can happen. Is it really safe? And it's strange to watch him check the boxes. It's strange to watch this man ask the right questions and say the right things. And what affects me here is he honestly believes that he can turn away at this point. He honestly believes that I don't have, it's almost as if I've got a hold of his shoulders right now. And with the next several sentences, I'll confirm that as I move forward, as we move forward through this. Nope, honey, it's just me, but you know what? You got to tell me if you're going to come. You don't have to, but if you're going to come, tell me because I got to make this money. Oh, I want to come. I mean, I will come. I just need to know because I can't get caught. And that goes without saying, right? We know he doesn't want to get caught. The wife, that's what he's thinking about now. Dear Lord, the wife. She can't ever find out about this. Promises made, some kept, some broken. But in reality, she's not a part of this. This is walled off and compartmentalized. She stopped being a part of this a long time ago, just like she stopped being a part of his sexuality, at least the secret parts of his sexuality. Those explored early or late when the house is quiet and lonely, that's private. Or in a hotel room someplace on a business trip. Those are private moments. They're not for marriage. They're not for her. She's not in that moment, and she's not in this one. And he never imagined all those years that he'd be this bored or this lonely. Who's going to catch us, baby? I don't know, you're not the police, right? I can't get caught. Please tell me you're not the police. LOL, no, baby, I'm not the police. I can't get caught either. I can't get caught because I'm a kid and I don't want to get in trouble. Deception really, really sucks. And it sucks to lie to somebody and have it be institutionally and officially endorsed. That is the hardest, most difficult, single part of my job. I would sooner pick up broken bodies from the sidewalk than have to walk a person using a lie through a door that's going to change their life forever. Forever. There is no going back at some point of this. And actually, we've already crossed that long ago. You guys have to forgive me. I'm still scripting this out, so please bear with me. And the 150, does that include, well, you know everything? Everything? LOL. What's everything? Well, you know, I just want to make sure we know what we're talking about, that we understand one another, because I'm paying a lot of money. What are we talking about? Well, I mean, we're talking about sex, right? That's what I want. And saying that makes it real for him. We're so far past backtracking now. We're so far past turning away. And the really, really, really sad part about all this is that he doesn't know that he honestly believes that he's in complete control, when in fact, he's in complete control, but he's in complete control of whoever this person is right here. And then he says to me, excuse me, guys. There we go. Oh, yeah, baby, of course. And at that point, when I acknowledge that what he's looking for is what he's going to get, I can imagine him tightening the grip on his mouse, shifting uncomfortably in his chair. He's committed, like I said, and he doesn't even know that yet. And he's imagining now, what would it feel like? What would that be like? Even though he's not allowed himself to think, I'm going there, but what would that be like if I show up? By the way, I have to tell you something. I don't want you to freak out when you get here, but I'm only 15. And we include that because of the statute. That is not a normal part of that negotiation. And at this point, if there's a come to Jesus moment in all this, if there's a turning away point, it's right here, because about 60% of the people that respond to our ads don't go past this point, but 40% do. Wait a minute, you told me that the ad said you were 18 years old. Well, yeah, baby, but if I say my real age, they won't post the ad. And like I told you, I can't get in trouble for this. Look, if you don't want to come, it's okay, it's cool. Just don't cause me any problems, okay? I'm not everybody's type. Well, no, of course you're my type. That's for sure. I saw your picture. But that's a little young. 15, really? Are you sure? LOL. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know how old I am. He's thinking. He's considering. He's been rehearsing. He's dressed. He's practiced. He's ready to go. But something's wrong. Something's not fitting right. And this right here, this is a scary place to be. The problem is, he's not asking why that's scary. He's not asking what about this is most dangerous to him. He still thinks it's about getting caught, and it's not. He's already caught. He's just not caught by people. That would tell him everything he needs to know about the path he's walking. And it scares him. The sin doesn't scare him, as I said. He's rehearsed his way through that. It's the consequence that scares him. You know, I'm really, really sorry, but I just can't do it. That's too young. I have a daughter that's older than that. And if there's a moment of victory, this might be it, maybe. And I'm glad he left. I'm glad he walked away. Maybe it became real. Maybe the thought of a 15-year-old girl clutching a handful of crumpled $20 bills just became too real for him. And maybe he can't imagine being that part of her debasement and exploitation, and maybe he's going to turn away. Minutes pass, maybe hours. Hey, are you still there? Yeah, baby, what's up? I thought you weren't interested. No, it's not that. I just need to make sure. Make sure what? I told you I was 15. I need to make sure you're not the police. I really can't get caught at this. It's a strange thing to be indifferent at this point. In fact, I can't be indifferent. It's impossible. And I'm not looking for every person out there that responds to an ad. I'm just not. I'm not the prostitution police. We were trafficking investigators. We're looking for this guy, the guy that says, yes, I know you're 15, and I'm coming. That's the person we're looking for. Of course I'm not, baby, but you know what? You got to decide, otherwise I got to take another date, okay? Turning the screws. Well, okay, where? And now, he's fallen. Him showing up right now is sort of irrelevant, in a way. And it's always something punctuated and short like that. It's barely betraying the extraordinary tension that he's feeling right now, because I know what's going on over here. I can read it in his words. I can see it in his pacing around the parking lot or down the hallway, shifting back and forth. How many times he walks back and forth in front of the hotel room or apartment door or on the sidewalk in front of the single-family home. And I never knew that a person's absolute surrender could be that unimpressive. That bothers me. It should sound like mountains and thunder and giant seas crashing on the shore. That's what this should sound like. Because this is a big, big, big deal. From this moment, nothing is the same. Everything is about to change. Everything. And I can't celebrate it. I can't give a high five or a fist bump to my partner. And you know what? It really, really sucks to be competent at that. I don't normally use the word sucks in church, just so you guys know. I know that's the second time I've done it today. Pray for me. And I've lamented more times than I can count in prayer what an unwanted gift it is to be good at the lies that this requires. It's good to be this good at reading text, measuring responses, and knowing where to say what and what to say when. To give and take and withhold just to get to that point where somebody says, okay, well, where? I'm here. Come to room 510. This is normally the part where I hold up handcuffs and I go, ratchet them, go, ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch-ch. You're going to have to do that for yourself, because in my haze of no sleep, I forgot my handcuffs today. I'm like only half a cop right now, so just so you know. And this guy is handcuffed within seconds. No, please don't. No, don't. You don't understand. This isn't what it seems. It's not me. This isn't me. You have the right to remain silent. I wouldn't have done that. I was just checking on her. Anything you say can be used for or against you in court. You don't understand, sir. I was going to drop the money on the table and I was going to leave. I knew I wasn't going to do this. She's young and I'm worried about her. And your wife, she has the right to cry today. Please don't do this. Please let me go. You don't know what this will do. And when the tears are gone, she has the right to sit silently as the pieces of her life shatter into tiny pieces around her feet and wonder where it all went wrong and what she did along the way. I'm sorry. This is my first time. I've never done this before. I'll lose everything. And your kids have the right to worry where Daddy is and why he can't live there anymore. Daddy's bedtime kisses were always the best, and they have the right to miss those. I'll lose everything. You don't understand. But it's already gone. It's already gone. It was surrendered hours, days, weeks ago. You see, if there's one thing that I know, is that this heart is a battlefield that's constantly under attack. And John, at the end of his beautiful discussion and testimony, made the comment, forgive me for paraphrasing, John, but you made the comment about the world we live in and the impact of media and the glorification of lust and violence and debauchery and all those things. Am I paraphrasing somewhat accurately? He is the beneficiary of all of that, as we all are. And I worry about that process to get to this point right here. And the Bible tells us a lot about this battle. You know, from the pre-flood narrative of Genesis 6, where God sees the heart of man and its inclination toward evil, to the laments of Job, to the confession of David in Psalms 51, who pleads, "Create in me a clean heart, O God," to the instructions of Jesus in Matthew 7, where he reminds us that it is from the heart that sin emerges. So I'm really, really worried about our hearts, and I'm worried about how we feed those hearts. And you should Google if you don't. I don't normally profess Google, but I will tell you, if you're doing a Bible study, Google is your best friend in the whole world, right? Google verses on the heart of man. And Google what that says, all those 100+ verses that you can pull out of the Old and New Testament. And we have to guard those. Now, in the minute or two that I have left, right? You said 5 like 2 minutes ago. Do I have 1 minute? Okay. I want to go 2 places in the Bible. And the first one, and I'm going to tell you to go there again after we're done with this, prayerfully go there, is Matthew 4 to 11. So this is the temptation of Jesus, right? And in Matthew 4, then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. After fasting 40 days and nights, he was hungry, and the tempter came to him and said, "If you are the Son of God, command these stones to become loaves of bread." But he answered, "It is written," and then Jesus goes to Deuteronomy 8:3, "Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of God." Then the devil took him to the holy city and set him on a pinnacle of the temple and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, because it is written," and here Satan's using Psalm 9:11, "He will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone." And Jesus said to him, again, it is written, "You shall not put the Lord God to the test." Okay, Deuteronomy 6:16 there. And again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their glory, and said to him, "All these I will give to you if you'll fall down and worship me." And Jesus said, "Begone, Satan, for it is written," and goes back to Deuteronomy, "You shall worship the Lord your God, and only him shall you serve." Now, here's what I want you to take away from that verse, okay? That was not Jesus as God being tempted. That was Jesus in human flesh being tempted. So when later on, and we are told that no temptation has befallen you but what is common to man, God knows exactly what he says. He knows exactly what those words mean. Look at where Satan attacked in those verses. First, he attacks Jesus in the body, the flesh, right, through hunger. Second, he attacks the mind, the pride. Throw yourself down. If you're the Son of God, imagine reasoning through that. Imagine sitting up there on that pinnacle and saying, I throw myself down. I can prove to you I'm the Son of God. Of course I'm the Son of God. I was prophesied for 2,000 years that this day was going to come, and here it is. And finally, he attacks Jesus in the heart. He attacks him in the last temptation, the heart. Body, mind, heart. A summary of the battlegrounds, and I want to encourage you to follow those. The only other thing, and then I'm going to be done here because I want to make sure, is remember to go to James 4:7. That's a fantastic verse, and it talks about exactly what it is that we are trying to accomplish. And James is a very, very difficult book to read, is it not? Wow, talk about something that's hard to swallow. And then 1 Corinthians 10:13, and I would really encourage you to follow those 3 verses up. But I'm done, and I went over a little bit. My deep apologies to the next presenter. Thank you so much. God bless all of you. I love you all.